Aloha and welcome to this practice WOD where we're going to solve the problem 3 from Project Euler. And again, you should probably have done the previous practice WOD before starting this one. So let's take a look at what practice WOD 3, problem 3 is, Project Euler. So it talks about, this is the largest prime factor problem. Prime factors of 13,195 or 5, 7, 13, and 29. What's the largest prime factor of a very large number? Okay, so for this, you're probably going to end up doing some Googling to figure out how the largest prime factor algorithm works. Pretty easy to Google around and see the solution, and that's totally okay for this because basically, this is not a test of your algorithm design skills right now. This is just a test of the mechanics of doing WOD. So feel free to Google around and figure out how to do this before starting this problem. Okay, so let's see. So we'll start the timer, and then we'll create an empty GitHub repo called Project Euler 3. So we'll go to GitHub, and we'll say new repository, and we're going to type in Project Euler, I can spell it right, 3. And we'll add a Java git ignore. We'll add GPL version 2.0. We'll create the repo. There it is. And then, of course, we have to have it locally. So we'll do this clone thingy. And we'll put it in our 613 directory. So we'll do that clone. Clone is done. And that's all we need from GitHub at this point in time. Then we're going to create a Java class called Project Euler 3. So let's bring up IntelliJ IDEA, which should load in less than 10 seconds. And so we'll say create new project, and we'll say next, and it won't be from a template, and then we'll find our GitHub repo in the project hosting. There's our GitHub repo, so we'll say choose, so it creates it in that directory. Let's hide these settings. We'll do finish. And then within a couple seconds, we've got our project set up. Okay, so that's cool. So we're going to create a Java class. The main method should compute the answer and print out the console, just like before. So we're really, we're doing pretty simple programming here where we only have one method. So we'll get the source directory, propeller end, gives us that dialog. We'll call it Project Euler 3. And sure, let's add it to Git. And then we need to make a public static void method, which we do this way. And we're kind of off to the races. So now what we got to do is actually compute this greatest, the prime factors of this very large number, and then find out what the largest one is. Okay, so there's different ways we can do it. I'd say one thing you need to know is that we're going to use longs in Java when we want to actually fool with large numbers. So we'll say long num equals, and what is that num? Let's find it over here. Here's the num, so I'll just copy, and then I'll paste, and then I got to use that L syntax to tell Java what's going on. So there's our number that we want to find the prime factors of. We want to make a list of prime factors. So we'll do a list of long factors equals new array list, and then we'll use this thing called diamond notation, which appeared in Java 7, which avoids the, it can infer from the left-hand side what the type of the right-hand side should be. And now this is some IntelliJ stuff. So the problem is we don't have import statements for this, but IntelliJ is smart enough to tell us what we probably want. So you can see that option return is saying if you want this to be imported as, if this object is of type java.util.list, then confirm it by doing option return, which I'll do. And now you can see the import statement is up there. And then you get this crazy thing. If you look at the red here, it says diamond types are not supported at this language level. So to fix that, we have to do a command semicolon to bring up the project structure menu. And this is also available from here, project structure. Okay, and I looked, unfortunately, as far as I can tell, IntelliJ always sets it to 6. and I couldn't figure out a way to globally change it to 8, which would be the right way to do it. So I'm afraid you're just going to have to set it to 8 for this class in order to get access to lambdas and diamond notation and so forth. So we'll click OK at this point, and you can see that now that problem went away, and now it's asking us whether we want this to be the java.util.arraylist. So we'll go option return to accept that one, and now we've got the correct import statement, and we can proceed on with this algorithm. Okay. So the way that we're going to do this is we're basically going to have a while loop that says while the number that we're trying to compute the factors of is greater than 1, we want to then inside have a loop where we divide it by an integer that's going to generally increase, and if the division is okay, then we'll reduce num by that division and keep going till we get to 0. So we're going to also need a long, and we'll call this the divider, and we'll set this equal to 2. Okay? So what we're going to say is while num is greater than 1, so that's our exit condition for when we know that we've found all the prime factors. Then we'll say while num divided by divider equals 0, then, so if num's going to start out this big number, I'm going to divide it by 2, and if dividing it by 2 is works out, then what we'll do is we'll add that divider to the set of factors. But we don't have a set of factors yet, so we've got to create, oh yes we did, here it is. So factors dot add our divider. Okay, and then we want to divide num and set it equal to the result of dividing num by the divider. Okay, and we know that it goes into it equally because we've just done this test. So that'll be okay. There'll be no kind of divider roundup. And then once we're out of this loop, once we can't divide the number by that particular divider anymore, then what we'll do is we'll just increment our divider by 1. And then we keep doing that, and once we've exited that outer while loop, we should be done. Okay, so that's a very simple, it's not the most efficient way of finding all the prime factors, but it's a simple one. Okay, so let's just print out the factors once we're done with this process to just see what the heck the algorithm did. Okay, so let's now do run project Euler 3. Okay, and so when we run this, we get the factors, and conveniently, it's interesting, it's going to be listed in increasing order. That's by virtue of the algorithm, because our divider is incrementing up each time, so the last one is always going to be the greatest one. Okay, so we've got these ones, and how do we check to make sure that this thing actually worked? Well, a simple way is to just do the multiplication. So let's bring up our calculator and say 71 times 839 times 1471 times 6857. Okay, and if we look at that number next to this number, looks good. It looks like we've got the factors that we want. So the only last thing we want to do is actually just print out the greatest one, right? Because that's the actual, what's the largest prime factor. And we know by inspection it's this 6857, but we actually want the program to print it out. So the way we can do that is we can basically say we're going to print out factors.get, and then what's the index that we want? Well, the index that we want is factors.size minus 1, because it's a zero-based, arrays are zero-based. Okay, so now if we run this puppy, Okay, we can see that we get all our factors and then we print out the last one. So the ultimate solution to the problem is that one. Okay, so let's go back to our problem set. We informally tested it, inspected the output, checked commit the finished program to GitHub. So in order to do that, we bring up GitHub and we say finished WAD, commit and sync. And then we can check to make sure by viewing on GitHub. Okay, so there's our program. It's in there, and we can look at our commit history to kind of see we started at 12:16, ended at 12:24. It's about 8 minutes. If I look here, I'm between 9 and 10. I'm going to call it a 10-minute WAD, and we should be good to go. So let's stop our timer at 9:50. This is kind of a good problem because it gives you a chance to deal with some other features of IntelliJ. You got to learn to set the language level. You learn how to do imports easily, stuff like that. So you're getting into a little bit more of the stuff that you're going to want to become real facile with as you move into the course. All right, that's the third practice WAD. Hope you enjoyed it.